Welcome to the AngelOfThyNight Radio, and your voice of the paranormal and founder, Lord Rick, brings you this special show today, as we're going to be discussing a few newspaper articles that came out, a few groups, a little bit of fan mail, and we're going to be discussing the Kinzua, Pennsylvania area, where I have done multiple investigations at. I was actually pretty surprised that we've gotten some pretty good results of our radio show so far. A lot of compliments, a lot of networking. I guess the whole point of our radio show is for me to be able to get the word out there, our theories, our views, who we are, to make our members aware of what's actually going on. The feedback we've gotten has been quite amazing. These aren't just voicemails, these are pre-recorded shows. They're very well planned out from front to finish, and we're going to continue to do them over the years to come, and I do expect millions of people to eventually be listening in, and this should help us out. As you can see with the subscribers, I did put an update out there for the World Trade Center Ground Zero site. If you notice, we did do a show on 9/11. I covered a little bit on theories, different things like that. I didn't want to say too much. I basically wanted to put the evidence on the website instead, let you draw your own conclusion. I'll never force my beliefs on somebody. I'll tell you what I think it is. Just because I post it don't mean I believe in it. But I cannot be biased as a founder and a paranormal investigator. I have to put the evidence out there, and I gotta let people decide, I believe or I don't believe. So all that information on 9/11 stats, damage stats, the missile pod, the demonic entity in the smoke, all that's listed on her page. Become a subscriber, read all about it. It's very simple. You're not subscribing because I want your money. You're subscribing so you can donate towards the organization, get involved, and that's a positive outlook and a positive thing for our organization. So help get involved. Our next topic of interest I'd like to discuss is a newspaper article came out recently talking about an area in Florida that's haunted, that people see ghosts on the thruway. And it is true, there's a section of Interstate 4 which goes up to Orlando, and it cuts over there near Lake Monroe. And right where it cuts over, there's a park. Very old. There's a historic railroad bridge. I've been there quite a few times. I found a dummy up in the woods a couple weeks ago. It was all dressed up, and it was meant to scare people. It looked like a person nailed to the tree. I mean, it almost did fool me until I walked up on it. But it's an area, I've always felt that had potential for ghosts. That's why I investigated it. And it just turns out that the interstate was built over some graves. I guess at one time there used to be a church and a small cemetery there, or something of the sorts. That seems to be a lot what Florida's about. A lot of ghost towns, a lot of them built over, a lot of cemeteries with land built over them. Florida's a tourist state. It's always developing. A lot of history to it. A lot of little pioneer settlements back in the 1800s. That's why I moved down here, because there's just so much to investigate. Sadly, I'm moving. I'll never get to do it all, never get to see it all. But this was an area I investigated before the newspaper article came out, which tells you a little bit about the psychic that I am, that I'm able to choose places and they just happen to turn out with an urban legend or some kind of ghostly activity. Then we have another newspaper article on the biggest supernova that's ever happened in the universe, or at least that's been viewable by humans. Think about it, supernova. That's all it takes to swallow planet Earth. That's all it takes is, something to go supernova. Sometimes them supernovas are as big as solar systems. So technically, Earth is not as precious as people think in the universe. There's a lot of Earth-like planets, and when you sit down and you read all these articles and you look them over about the universe, we're always learning things. So, you got to think about the sun dying out, supernovas, asteroids hitting the Earth. These are all dangers. These are all threats. I think that there's been many apocalypses on Earth. I think that Earth is one of these things where, humans eventually, they almost die out and they repopulate, and then eventually certain things evolutionize over time. Life has a way of always surviving or adapting to its surroundings. So I thought that was a pretty interesting article also. I've always been intrigued with space, the moon, Mars, supernovas, things of that sort, which is, a totally different radio show, which we'll get into the moon and eventually Mars and things like that. But, yeah, it's quite interesting when you look it all over, and, I think that people need to stop worrying about wars and all these small things. They need to focus on space. They need to get up on the moon. They need to get on other planets. And they need to start exploring. You can be a paranormal investigator, or you can be an urban exploring, group, and you can explore all these abandoned places. But, those places ain't going to be there in 50 to 100 years. But the planet Mars is going to be there for another million years probably. So, to explore something like that, wow. If tomorrow NASA contacted me and said, we're sending your ass to Mars, I'd go to Mars, even if it was by myself on an entire planet. Now imagine how creepy that could be. I hope that everybody had a nice Mother's Day. I spent my Mother's Day cooking on the grill. We tried to play poker. Didn't end up playing poker till the next day. But, during my poker tournament, I was sitting there, I was thinking, what could I do a radio show on? What do the viewers really want to hear? And I sat back and I thought about it for a while. I said, what area have I worked with? What area have I done a lot of work with and actually was quite successful? And then I thought about all these little emails I get, and, we get a lot of government hits on military on our site. We made the site for subscribers only because, we wanted to give our members something special, and we wanted to keep the riffraff off and such as that. But I wanted to make the topic of the show today mainly about the Kinzua Dam region up near Warren, Pennsylvania. I'm kind of doing this for my previous investigators who, when I first started off, they helped me out. They actually helped me camp and helped me investigate and provided me with food and places to stay and new places to explore and check out. So a lot of thanks goes out to them because I would have never even knew about this area. And sadly, when I found out about the area a year later, I moved to Florida. So I really didn't have a lot of time to work with. I went out there back in November in the colder months. I took an airline up to Buffalo, New York, and I went up to the Kinzua area, and, I'd go another 20 times if I could. And, that's why we ask our members, if you want to see something in particular, let's say you want to send me out to England, you say, hey, this is what I want to see you do. I'll do it, as long as that the members are able to, put in towards an airline ticket. It's not a lot to ask, our expeditions cost a lot of money. Nothing's for free. I'm not going to beg, but if my members want to see me go out to the Kinzua area and, you want to put together something for me that you want to see this, and that checked out, I'll gladly do it, as long as that the trip is funded by the members only. So, maybe one day I'll get to go back out there and do more work with it. But I have been up to the region 4 or 5 times, and I've done caves, cemeteries, farmhouses, woods, trails, mountains, conspiracy areas, cliffs, you name it, I've done it. And I've worked out there with lake monster, Sasquatch, Thunderbird, hi-hat, UFOs, Indian ghost, you name it, I've worked with it, and I've visited the region roughly 5 to 6 times, and each time I put an expedition up there, I've done a little something different. I've camped out in the cold. There's a lot of little strange areas, and it all started with an ex-investigator of mine who shared the last 20 years of his life up in the region about various stories passed around by the locals and legends and things that he's seen. And he's had on occasion at least 3 to 5 Bigfoot sightings I can remember, including one that reached up in his cooler and grabbed grabbed some food and took off running. He's also seen the head of one. He was sleeping on an 11-foot rock and the head went past. So this thing, obviously was at least 12 feet tall. But he's had experiences, and that's why I came to the area, was to verify those experiences. That's what we do as a paranormal organization. We get people who say, hey, I got a ghost here, come check it out. And he was telling me a story about a vortex, and he stepped in it, and he was in a whole different age, a stone age, an area with a bunch of caves. It looked like the caveman area was all subtropical, and I remember him telling me about this. I thought, wow, this is pretty interesting. And when you really do the research and you find out that, the land was given by George Washington, and our own government took that land away from the Seneca and Iroquois Indians area. And Chief Corn Planter, he was buried there, and what the government did is they cleared out the land, the burial grounds, and they built the dam. It's called Kinzua Dam. It's supposed to be cursed. Dam doesn't seem that stable. If the dam breaks, the whole town of Warren would be washed away, and they would only have probably about a 5-minute warning period. Then you got in the town the refinery, because that's all the Kinzua area is now. It's a bunch of drilling and oil wells, and there's the refinery, and enough propane under that if it blows, if they don't get the power on within a minute, it would blow. And the blast radius would be up to Jamestown, which is probably about 30 miles away. So, it's a real strange area. It's one of these areas that it's like a time bomb waiting to go. I don't consider it the safest area. I feel safe in the mountains. I don't feel safe being below the dam. I feel more comfortable being in a paranormal setting than I do, down in town, knowing that the dam could break because the Indians had cursed it. But they didn't get all the bones and all the Native American bones, and all them villages were wiped out. Villages that have been owned by the Native Americans for 200 years. And I had a member of the Cherokee people write me, and they told me, you can't question what's here. You just got to accept it and go with it. And when you need the help most, call to the Native American people. And that's been all my investigations, despite our close run-ins with giant black bear and strange things chasing us to the woods and all, we've always came out a winner there. I've always felt protected. I do remember that one night we parked up by the upper reservoir. It's like 20 miles in the middle of nowhere, and it's an upper reservoir, and it's a good mile to walk around. It's dark, it's creepy, there's woods, and it's an area I found some mutilations. Yes, I did find about 10 to 15 dead animals, all mutilated, different species, and that happened while I was camping at night. I did bring some females. They went off on their own. They had a Bigfoot sighting there, so we know something's there. We're just sitting in the car, we're eating snacks, and I have my camera ready, and I'm standing outside. We just get outside, and we both see a white ball of light came right down in front of us, and then it flew off. It was not normal. It was cold. It was winter. What was the ball of light? I felt it was alien probes. Not to mention my last trip up there, the car radio just shutting off and on its own. We were getting some electrical interference. It's UFOs? Yeah. I mean, people see them all the time skipping over the lake, over by the dam. They see the water glowing. They see lights dancing on the water. That's just the type of area it is. And enough people have written me about it, and they've told me about these things. One of the most interesting stories that I've heard is the Devil's Elbow area. It's crystal clear blue water. And there has been lake monster sighted over the last few years, really. Last 20 years. People have seen it. People have written me that have seen it. These are good people writing me. And they all describe it the same way. And, people have seen this thing emerge from the water. So not only, does the area is well renowned for the Bigfoot activity, which is, within the top 3 in the country. But it's also got a lake monster, and it's also got a lot of UFO activity. It's government watch. There's a lot of little government installations. Supposed to be catacombs and tunnels all over the Kinzua area, and Chief Corn Planter's Forest. There is caves. I've seen a couple. There's Chief Corn Planter's Cave. There's the Bear Caves in Allegheny. There's a lot of different places you can check out. But I absolutely enjoy the area. And then, of course, back on my first investigation in the area, I did find a Bigfoot track. It was not human. It was very flat-footed. It was very wide. It was about 18 inches long. The impression was almost 2 inches deep, which means it had to be something 500-600 pounds. But, it was found in a bush, and not to mention one time I was hiking by myself out there, and I looked over on a cliffside, and I seen a plane hanging off the cliff, one of those Cessnas. Of course, we called the ranger station and found out that the plane that crashed out there, it's already been found. So what was the plane that I spotted? I don't know. I've seen strange things out there. They do exist. The creature named High Hat. Some of the locals have seen him. It's a creature that wears a hat, has a mouthful of teeth. It eats meat. It's a Native American creature. I know it's out there. There's obviously something out there that's mutilating the animals. There's, whether it's alien, it's Bigfoot. Primarily, my ex-investigator, he did mention something to me about a mutilation found up in that area of a human being. He also mentioned to me that one night he heard something attack a deer and eat into it, crunching the bones. And I guess a relative of his or something, that somebody he knows, stayed behind with a gun. A guy who spends a lot of time in the woods, and he told him just get to safety because you don't know what it is. This is a thing that detects movement. This is a thing worse than Bigfoot, and it doesn't belong here. So now we get into, where are these creatures coming from? If it doesn't belong here, is it coming through a vortex? Well, yeah. I've had a lot of people write me and say there's vortexes. I believe I stepped in a vortex when I was out there. I ended up walking out in the woods, and there was just this little area, and everything was a little bit different. For example, there was about a 50 to 100 foot area that had a blizzard, and there was nothing else around. You could feel a gust of wind like a door had opened up. The thing is, when you run a paranormal organization, a lot of people are scared to come forth until you do. Once you got the site up and you got articles and you got a little bit of photos and evidence, then people start coming forth. Government people, people who've had Bigfoot sightings, members, etc., etc. I've had a lot of Native American people from the area write me and tell me about Bigfoot in the swamps and having sightings and things. Another area, Chapman Dam, it was blocked off many years ago, and my ex-investigator was telling me stories how his dog came back slimed and was scared. He also remembers that they kicked him out, and there was 2 guys that were put in an insane hospital, and them guys seen something in that area, and for talking they were put away. And sometimes when people have information like that, it's power, but it's also a dangerous thing. Me, on the other hand, I'm able to voice my paranormal opinion. I'm very well known, and anything that I get a hold of is going to be aired publicly, whether it's on my radio program, whether it's on our website, but the word's going to get out, and that's what separates me. So, if you got a story to share, you want to share it with me, or you want to keep something in confidence with me, feel free to drop on by, drop me an email. If you've had experiences in the Kinzua and Warren area, I would love to hear from you, because I'm starting to get all these stories coming in, and they're all matching up about certain hotspot activity for UFOs and Bigfoot. Some areas got more activity than other areas. And anyways, going back to vortexes and such, there is supposed to be a creature out there. Besides the fact that some guy got pulled underwater by something, and I mean, I guess it chopped him in half, and his last words when he was in the water is that something's got me. And, I know that sometimes there's catfish that are man-sized down by the dam. With any dam, catfish can grow pretty big, but catfish don't bite human beings. So there is something in the water. It terrifies people. There's also something in the woods. I don't think it's human. I think I've came close to it. Like I said, I've seen some eyes in the woods my height staring at me. I've heard things. I mean, I've measured footprints with strides that are 6 to 8 feet. So something had to have very long legs. I've also studied stool samples. They don't look human. They're actually triple the size of humans. Stool samples. So we obviously know something's going on there. The creature up there, I call it a monster. I think it's something prehistoric. My ex-investigator claims that one of his relatives was attacked by it, and it had made claw marks in one of the tin cans right through his backpack. So it did attack him. With that in mind, I've studied the footprint photo he has. It's very prehistoric. It's very large. I think that footprint is that same creature. I think it's in the woods. The government says, oh, we don't have giant cats in the woods. Yet people see panthers and giant cats in that area. Government says there's a lot of things that don't exist out there, but people are seeing them. And, all this, trying to put giant cats in the woods and coyotes that kind of control the smaller animals. And it's just, there's a lot of secrets to the area. So I've always been fascinated with Allegheny Forest. It spans 4 to 5 counties. It takes up part of New York. It takes up northern Pennsylvania. I mean, there's a lot to check out. I've done various parts. I've done Salamanca. I've been in the Kinzua area. I've done Counterfeiter's Den. One area that really interests me was Big Bend. Something I've wanted to make a goal about. The Big Bend area means a lot to me. It's very fascinating. It's very hard to get to. Some people call it the bowl. It's a good climb. You can hike the back way in. It's a few miles over some treacherous territory, or you can hike straight up the mountain, which will probably take you a good half hour. You got to have real strong legs. You got to be able to grab onto the trees. It's pretty advanced. You got to kind of separate paranormal investigating from exploring and being an adventurous. Sometimes you're an adventurous, and other days, when you're in a haunted house, you are a ghostbuster. In this case, I wasn't a ghostbuster. I had to have a clear head to make sure I didn't fall. And, if you fall, that's your death. That's your life. You're not going home to see your kids. You're not going to see your friends. You're not going to ever live to tell your fans about it. So anyways, I climbed up there because rumor had it that there used to be a giant cave, or some sort of cave, that went on for miles. Smithsonian went in there. There's gunshots fired. They ended up taking a couple giant skeletons, or they hauled something out of the cave. Giant chairs and a stone table, about 6 feet high. And there was a couple bodies that were hauled out. Giants, I don't know. Did a lot of studying on giants. And we do have a special web page up in that area. Actually, if you go to the Big Bend link, you can become a subscriber. You can read all about the giants phenomena, on how giant skeletons are unearthed in a lot of the shell middens and a lot of the Indian mounds up north. Most of them are in Pennsylvania, New York. Some of these giant skeletons have come up missing. It is a very real phenomena. I think that these giant skeletons may be the Bigfoot that we're looking for. I actually think they're Bigfoot skeletons. They still look like man. They're just twice the size. That's all. I mean, you can look it up in public records. The Smithsonian did do a few investigations, or actually excavate areas like this. But there has been a lot of times, proof of giants being found, and they're all being found in these little hidden caves. People go in, they find giant skeletons just sitting there on some giant chairs, and I guess being that there was shots fired, they found something, and I don't think it was dead. I think that there was some Bigfoot living in there, or some giants. I think that the government went in and they killed them. I think it's being covered up, and I know at one time that they took cement and they did everything in their power to seal that cave. And of course, there are witnesses, and I guess one of the guys that lived up there, I know for one they were quarrying the area. And that was used to build the dam, but I think when they were doing it, they found something. I got to the top of the mountain. It was real dismal. I felt watched. I was up on the mountain. I was in the woods, and I took this little man-made gravel road, and it did lead to a cave entrance, which was collapsed. They ended up, after sealing it with cement, they dynamited it. They used a lot of TNT, and they blasted the whole side of the cliff. It was all covered up. What was there, I don't know, but now there's no mention of it. But a lot of the locals, they know it did happen. They know, a lot of them will say, hey, there's a giant cave that used to be there at the top of the dam. Giant skeletons, who knows? I know they exist. I got a lot of documented evidence on the website of its existence. And when you sit there and you dig up an Indian mound and you find a 16-foot skeleton, you carbon date it and you find out that it's only a couple hundred years old. You're thinking, can you imagine something 16 feet walking around? Giants? Do they exist in Kinzua? They may be. Maybe our government's wiped them out. Maybe our government's covering it up. But there's a lowdown that's being kept. The rangers won't say nothing. Not to mention that there's an area called Heart's Content. Government quarantined and sealed that off. They said it was a crystal meth lab that was busted up in the woods. I doubt it. I think it's a cover-up. But there is government up in the area, and it is watched, and it's a high paranormal area. And we've had a lot of success, and that's why I felt like, on this radio show, I at least wanted to make the public aware of, what's going on up there. Bigfoot, it's pretty well known. A lot of people have sightings. There's a case where one of the men couldn't stand the screaming, came out, shot at it. Guess he hit it, and then later that night, that same one came by, grabbed the mobile home or the trailer and tried to reach in with its paw and try to grab anything it could grab. And, you better believe they got off the land quickly and probably never came back. These are gentle creatures, but, if you sit there and you fire a gun at Bigfoot, or you're hostile towards his territory, it's going to defend itself, and it's going to get you. And, guns or no guns, there's something that can run 40 miles an hour on all fours, and then on foot. It's definitely, its strides are very large, so it's going to catch you either way. And if you hurt one, chances are there's going to be another adult or adolescent that's going to protect its kind. So you don't want to show any violence towards these creatures. But it's an area like I said, I've heard screams. I've been close to packs of coyotes. There's a lot of dangers when you're, out there hiking at night. 3 a.m., you're hiking down some trail in the middle of Allegheny. No people for 20 miles. There's logging roads that go to nowhere. It's dark. It's silent. There's twigs snapping, things moving around. And then you find a mutilation in the same spot a few hours later when the sun comes up. You just don't know what's going on. Not to mention all the ghost photos we've taken. Not to mention that Jim Batista took a photo of a Civil War spirit. Broad daylight. And it's as clear as ever. It's probably one of the best ghost photos I've ever seen. And it does prove the existence that the afterlife is real, especially in that region. I love working with the region, and I'd do anything to go back there just for a week. It's just unfortunately, being a Ghostbuster and a paranormal investigator, I'm a pretty poor one, because we don't get a lot of funding. I don't sell a lot of subscriptions. We don't, it's not like that at all. People have a lot of misconceptions, and they think that we're rich and we get all this money, and we don't. You know, sometimes it's nice when, 10 people can say, here's 30 bucks a piece. Now come fly out here and give us an adventure we'll never forget. I'll do it. But it's an area that I'd like to work with more. I think there's a lot more that remains to be seen. Not to mention, there's catacombs and hidden caves, and, sometimes these people go in these caves and they're never seen again. People come up missing, people come up abducted. And that's just the type of area it is. And, I hope that, with the website, as many Native American people can see it, we're very for the Native Americans. And we do a lot of Native American type of investigations. And those spirits respect me and I respect them. And that's why we're able to do such sacred and ancient places, because we have a much deeper understanding and respect for them. And of course, my last story, the night to go with the area, is that one night we were up by Rim Rock, sitting on the rock, the fog was rolling in, and we do our bigfoot calls, and we call out in the woods, and we try to attract things. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to antagonize, we're trying to get it to come out, we're trying to piss it off. I can't put it more bluntly than that. If you don't piss it off, you're not going to hear it, you're not going to see it. It's just going to sit there and stare at you. So we did our calls, and one night something called back to us. It was right below the cliff, and it was getting closer and closer. Guys got scared, guys wanted to get out. A lot of times we get pretty close to finding something, and sometimes I get investigators who just, they can't endure it, and they got to get back to that car. That's where they feel safe, in the car. But, it was calling up to us. It was right below, and it was making a whooping sound constantly. And we were doing, I'd give it 2, it'd give me 2 back. It wasn't human. There was something out there in the woods. It seen us sitting on the rocks, and it was right below. Fog was rolling in, it could have snatched any of us. What was it? I don't know. A lot of mystery to the area. And like I said, I'd like to work with it again. On to the next topic. I'd like to discuss a little bit of fan mail we've had. It's kind of funny because when you do this type of business, it doesn't matter how much you want to make friends, how much you want to network with others, how many allies you want to make. It's supposed to be we're all paranormal investigators and explorers help one another. Unfortunately, over the years, the internet's gotten greedy. Everybody owns a computer. Even the good and the bad. And, sometimes it's the bad that ruin it for everybody else. As opposed to all the great emails I get now and then, I also get negative mails, emails with threats and harassment. It's not necessary. It's very childish, because as a paranormal founder, I have to respect every other group. Unless the group disrespects me, then I have to take the appropriate action, because I have to defend my beliefs, my members, my friends, my organization, my friend who was killed by a drunk driver. And, these things mean a lot to me. We don't do this type of work because we want to get others back or hurt other people's feelings. We do this type of work because, A, I enjoy it. I find solitude in my work. I don't want a popularity contest. I'm not in it for the money. I just want a chance to teach others, get my theories out. I take a lot of people out with me, or have in the past, just not in Florida, because Florida's not a very open-minded state. It's very Christian, very conservative. Most people are very big churchgoers. You're not going to get a lot of people who are going to want to go into an abandoned asylum or a haunted house or whatever. That's just the way this area is. But I've always shared everything that I've ever done. I've shared my work. I've allowed my members to come along, and sometimes, it's a case where everybody's got to pitch in. Nothing's free, gas, film, cameras, all that kind of stuff costs a lot of money. Some people want to go for the entertainment, and, what we do here is very serious. And sometimes we experience more than what we get in the photos, just like the Kinzua area. I've seen things. I can't explain them all. I've heard things, and this has been an ongoing year after year project for us. But I'm going to go into a little bit of fan mail. As you know, we get harassed by other groups. It's a shame that they just can't stick to their work and respect my work. Unfortunately, that's just how bad it's gotten on the internet. Hopefully, I can continue to gain support, gain fans through my radio show, and in the end, it's going to help us out as a group. It's going to make us stronger. But the first email I received from a man named Nick Sand, don't know who the hell he is. I know he belongs to UER. He says, I just heard that I made your shit list on one of your pathetic voicemails. Thank you. When a loser like you says something stupid about me, it just showed that I am not in your league. It is a great compliment that some white trash loser like you does not approve of me. Thanks again, dude. Oh, and please don't change. The hours of laughs we get out of your antics are priceless. I have to say, that's pretty funny. Here's a guy I don't even know. And granted, he might go to asylums. Maybe it's all gone in his head. Maybe he belongs in asylum. I don't know. But, to call somebody a loser you don't know, it's really kind of shallow. And unfortunately, I do this type of work, and that's what makes me a winner, is that as a founder, I'm able to stick with something and commit to it, and I'm able to help other people. I have children, they're great boys, and, I have a great life, and my gifts I'm able to share with others. I'm able to help other people that have lost children, people that, don't understand death and have lost their husband in the war. I'm able to help a lot of people, and it's not just one or two, it's a lot of different people. And our site's there so other people can learn about what we do and about the places we go, and they could absorb the history that's involved. It's pretty sad that some people could spend hours laughing at somebody they don't know. I don't find what we do very funny. It's obvious that the work we do is good. You don't get 8 million hits in 1 year unless you're doing something right. There's a time for laughs, and then there's a time to be serious. So my advice to this Nick Sand is get serious. Maybe if you were more serious about your urban exploring, you might actually get something done for a change. But, I'm the founder of this organization, and if you don't like the material we put out, don't read it. Next. Now we got another email. Goes by the name of Zeeks on MySpace, or Samurai. But, samurais are all about honor, and it's obvious that some people have no honor or respect for other people's work. As I've been doing this for the last 5-6 years, I have to say, I have a lot of respect for other paranormal investigators. I have a lot of respect for anybody that does this, because I know what's involved with it. So I'll never laugh at somebody for their views, but I will laugh at somebody when they sit there and they're just plain ignorant, because ignorance is bliss. And if you're closed-minded and, you got to sit there and you got to demean other people to make yourself look good, you're not a very good urban explorer. You're not a very good paranormal investigator. And that's just the truth. Especially if you got a name call, it kind of shows that your brain's fried and that you can't come up with nothing better. So anyways, this bisexual guy writes me on MySpace. Okay, I don't know who he is, what his issue is. I know that he goes on some public forum named UER, and he sits down and he talks about me. You don't even know me, but I mean, every message is, I wish this guy would die and be paralyzed and on life support and jump in front of a car and commit suicide. Hates me so bad, but doesn't even know me. How can you hate a person you don't know? I mean, this is the internet. I mean, get a life. But anyways, you got to hear this email. Okay, this is the best fan mail I have ever received in the last, I'd say, 2 years of my life doing this type of work. Okay, here's the email. I suppose that I should be the one to tell you that A, you are a tool, and B, you don't even know what a tool you are. I mean, if you're this much of a basement-dwelling moron, unplug your computer, get off the internet. You're far too stupid to even remotely understand it. As for my comments, if you want to broadcast them to 2 or 3 trailer park queens out there, that's fine. But get the comments right. I didn't just want you to throw yourself under a bus. No, no, no. I wanted to expunge from reality. It's people like you that just make the internet experience that much more depressing for the rest of us. You wouldn't know what paranormality was if it came up and bit you on your goofy, goony ass sizzle chest. You don't have a clue as to what sarcasm and humor are. You have ceased being a joke because you are too pathetic to ridicule any longer. If you choose to not throw yourself under a bus, that's fun, but for the love of all that's holy, shut the F up and get a life already. Now, are you ready for my reply? Here's my reply. Okay, first off and foremost, in the state of Florida, no house has a basement. The reason why they can't build basements in Florida is because most of the land is composed of sand, and there's a lot of flooding during hurricanes. Neighborhoods even like mine sometimes get a foot of water in the low-lying areas. I'm not going to unplug my computer. I'm not going to get off the internet. I sit here and I have goals, I have dreams, and there's a lot of people out there who need my help. If you don't like the material we put out, why are you looking at it? Why are you stalking me on MySpace? Am I that much of a celebrity that you have to be like the Inquirer? Because, your name shouldn't be Samurai. In my opinion, if you're such a hateful fan, you should actually ask the Inquirer if you can go work for them. And I find, that you want me expunged from reality, but the reality is that the Paranormal Ghost Society has been around for 5 years, if not longer. We sell good paranormal equipment, we're reputable, we've helped people out, we've done over 700 investigations, we provide entertainment, we throw in kick-ass parties. And, we're not going anywhere. So, stop spreading the rumors, stop libeling the organization. We're not just about the paranormal. We're about networking, making friends, helping other groups thrive and grow as they help us, working together. Deal with it. If you don't want to deal with it, don't look at my page. Don't look at my site. Don't listen to my radio show. How's that? And then sometimes we get these forums like UER or this Samurai Kid. He sits there and says, we don't have a clue of what humor is. Well, I don't find it humorous that people can sit here and, demean me and call me a moron and stupid and spread around fake rumors and, post my son's photos up on their site and create fake profiles and threats and stalking and harassment. How does that humorous? You know what's humorous? Humorous is a bunch of us guys going up to a cemetery and me wearing a Santa suit. That's humorous. Sarcastic is joking around with friends. But, when people sit there and they say get a life, well, you need to understand the paranormal is my life. Urban exploring is my life. My children are my life. And what I do as a radio show host or as a paranormal founder, aside from my internet life, is not anybody's business. It's not your business who I date, what I do outside of my work. All that matters to the community is that I am committed to the paranormal and bringing my fans and my members the truth. So this goes out to all the people who hate me. You're the ones who keep coming to my site. You're the ones that keep looking at my work. Therefore, that makes you fans. It doesn't matter whether you hate me or you like me. That's not what this is about. I'm not here to be liked. I'm not here to buddy-buddy with you. I'm only here as an informant. I go out, I investigate, I put the information up on our site. Whether you choose to believe it, it's up to you. If you weren't on the investigation and you didn't experience it, who are you to judge? End of story. Next. Lastly, I'd like to do a review. Okay, I do a lot of research. You know, when we sit here and we get someone who libels the organization, you know, I'll get a hold of their IP, their phone number, their address, personal home pages. I will investigate them fully. You know, and don't think for 1 minute, even though I don't like cops, we got cops on our list. And, you know, as a favor, if I need somebody to run a background or trace somebody, I will have it done. Because as a paranormal founder, it's very important that our work and our reputation is held to the upstanding paranormal community and our fans and our members. We don't want to let anybody down. You know, we want to put out good work. We want to do TV shows. We want to put out a book. We want to do all those things because we want everybody to benefit and share the wealth of information as far as paranormal goes, haunted places go. But, you know, this has been an ongoing problem. The Odd Emperor, who runs a site known as Guy, I believe his name is Guy Pettingill. It is public information. You can look it up. You know, so, you know, think again, buddy, before you're going to sit here and place lawsuits on the PGS organization. Later on tonight, I am going to post public links so other paranormal groups out there and urban exploring groups can get a feel of what's happening here. I'm going to do it, and I'm doing it as a favor to all groups so they know who and what they're getting involved with. Because people like this, they need to be shut down. You know, they have no right to go around hurting other people purposely. It's not right to do. It's not right to harass. It's not right to create websites on other organizations. I would never do that, and I don't expect someone else to do that. Anyways, there was a little article in the Vanguard News. And I was quite pleased to read the article. It does have a lot of information. I can't post it all here, but I'm going to read it to you. It's called Odd Emperor Outed. Dear researchers, thinkers, and free spirits, for many years now I've been watching as an anonymous individual calling himself Odd Emperor has used his Emperor of the Odd website to ridicule, attack, and harass each and every one of you. He makes fun of your websites, your work, your research, your beliefs, and tells outright lies that amount to slander and libel, all while hiding behind a veil of anonymity that he thinks protects him from criticism in any way, not to mention potential lawsuits at which he openly scoffs. Some of you he has drawn into conversations that were at first private. Then he posted your conversations online as he attempted to make you look foolish. He has waged his campaign of harassment at two sites: www.oddempire.org and www.oddempire.org/weblog, which is WEBLOG. Well, at least some light has been shed on who this guy is, who prides himself on harassing and attempting to humiliate others. At his Odd Empire site, his copyright info contains this text: Copyright 2003 to 2006, Empire of the Odd, G. Pettingill, Editor-in-Chief. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, the Odd Emperor is an individual named Guy Pettingill. He is a microcomputer analyst for Eckerd College, ITS Services Department. You can look that up, www.eckerd.edu/cc/staff.html. And what do you know? There's Mr. Pettingill working for Eckerd Education. This is public info. You can look it up. We're not libeling him. We're not saying anything that's not true. And of course, the article goes on about his phone number, his address. I'm not going to post that here. but you know, that information is available also on the internet. Um, Anyways, it says his home phone number is blank blank blank. He's publicly requests no calls after 11 p.m. So make sure you don't bother him after 11 p.m. His personal business website is www.blackfish.biz, B-I-Z, at which he hosts all of his anonymous Empire of the Odd and Odd Emperor material. Looks like the Emperor has no cloak of anonymity anymore. Now everyone can know just who it is, who is harassing them on discussion lists, harassing and slandering them, libeling them actually in printed form on the web. Some of you may want to talk to your attorneys and generally making an ass of himself at the expense of others. Please feel free to spread the information, as it is public information obtained freely over the web, to discussion groups or to others who have been harassed by this guy over the years. Everyone who has been slandered, libeled, harassed, and ridiculed by this jerk has a right to know who has actually been assaulting them for his own amusement. And of course, with that in mind, I have websites that he's on different groups, different clubs. There's reviews on him. There's a lot of websites warning not to do an interview. He did ask for an interview. I turned it down because I did not like the cynicalism, and I did not like the fact that he was asking personal questions about girls I date, my kids. It's, honestly, if you're going to conduct a paranormal interview, you may want to keep it professional. Try that out. But then, you go on forums, and, you sit here and you see this guy going around spreading rumors that I have sex with Sasquatch or Bigfoot, and you almost laugh. Because here, you got a news article about this guy, you got reviews on the net, I got other paranormal leaders and urban exploring groups telling me, watch out for this guy. And of course, about a month ago, I get a letter in the mail saying he's going to put a restraining order on me and threatening to sue me. And, I wrote him back, and I'm just like, dude, this is public information. I have more access to who this guy is than probably anybody right now on the internet, because I like to find out who's interviewing me. And, of course, he posted a review about me on his site, and, he thinks, obviously, it's going to hurt my reputation, and actually, it does the opposite. You want, no matter if you talk positive or negative about who we are, either way you look at it, you're giving us free advertising. And, what more can I ask for as a leader than free advertising? Because the truth is libel is not true. And a lot of what people hear is libel. So anyways, the Odd Emperor, he's been outed. Next case, I feel that, as a founder, it's my responsibility in the paranormal community to let others know and be aware of the dangers that are out there, because it's people like this that ruin it for the rest of us, and it's not right that someone gets their amusement off other groups. The only reason why he's going around bad-mouthing the Paranormal Ghost Society organization is quite simple. He didn't get his story. I turned down his interview. Because I'm not out to be famous. So, that's pretty much to sum it up. And I think that every paranormal organization, every urban exploring group, any kind of group that deals with the strange needs to watch this guy. And tonight, if you're on my forums, because some of you who listen to the show are, I'm going to post some pretty shocking links. I have every right to post them. It's public information. It can be found. I'm not going to post his address. I'm not going to post his phone number. But if you do enough research, I'm sure you could find it. And you can speak to him yourself. Because I'm sure that other paranormal leaders have been harassed or libeled. And, of course, my recommendation as a radio show host and as a paranormal founder, get an attorney. It's people like this need to be shut down. And it's very easy to shut them down if you know what you're doing. So on to the next. topic. Of course, the last thing I want to discuss is Scotty from Star Trek had his ashes blasted off into space. These space memorial services are becoming quite popular. They actually take the ashes, they load them in a rocket, they blast it off to space, and of course, you know, the rocket comes back to Earth with the ashes eventually. Well, Scotty's ashes, they've been lost. The group claims that they know where the rocket is and they're going to retrieve it, but it only can be reached by helicopter. Then I read another article that they can't find them. So the rocket's somewhere right now in New Mexico on a mountain range. But it's really amazing what they're doing with ashes. Nowadays, I guess they're taking the ashes of loved ones and they're trying to make diamonds that people can wear their loved ones on their fingers. Now they got fancy urns out, and now you can get blasted off into space, and there's all kinds of different things that they're doing. Then there's a company called Eternal Reefs, and they combine the ashes with concrete, and they make artificial coral reefs, which then are placed in the Atlantic Ocean. And, people have been put in the ground. It nourishes the lawn and garden in the form of special potting soil made by a company called Flora Memorial. So, there's a lot of different things that can happen. I know Eternal is sent in Florida. They send ashes up about 5 miles above the Earth's surface in a large balloon. It explodes when it reaches a certain altitude, scattering the remains in the upper atmosphere. I think over the years that burial has gotten a little more advanced. But then, you look at cemeteries, some of them are overcrowded, take up space. It's probably a lot easier to send the remains into space, or, the ashes. It's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more inexpensive, it takes up less space. And so over the years, as a paranormal investigator, I try to learn about as much as I can about life as I can death. So this new age burial type of service, it's pretty interesting. I guess my question would be, and I'm interested in hearing responses from our viewers, where would you like your ashes if you could be cremated? Do you think it's appropriate to send your ashes to space? Or do you think that they should remain on Earth? That's the big question. I'd like to hear some responses on our message forums, and I'd like to hear from you. So I'd like to take the time to listen to my fans, my viewers. I love you all. Have a good night, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Peace.